Alright, so our presentation, like DJ said, is on renting and buying. So we should probably start off by saying what renting and buying is. Renting is just a payment for the use of a property. And then buying is you have bought and paid for that object and you have complete ownership over it. Alright, and then through reading, there were a lot of common terms that you probably know. So like subleaser, like words like highballing and lowballing, kind of like self-explanatory words. But these are some words that we think that are important just when you're talking about renting or buying. So appreciation just means an increase in value.
And then leasing is the document itself that you go to sign. So like you can lease an apartment, you can lease a car, and then like on the document is just like the rules you have to follow. And like if you lease a car, like it depends like if it's 15,000 miles or 10,000 miles and how many years. And the same thing goes for an apartment, like the things you can and can't do, like candles, kegs, don't jump off the roof, stuff like that that you have to follow the rules and stuff like that. So you have to follow them, that's what you pay. And also it says how much is on the, you have to pay monthly, so that's on there too.
Words like assets and liabilities, these go together. So assets are what is owned, and then liabilities are what is owed. So for example, Aaron bought his car, he owns his car, that's an asset to him. I pay a payment on my car monthly, so that is a liability to me. See the difference? Okay.
And then mortgage is the loan to purchase real estate. So basically when you go to buy a house, you will get a mortgage, and there are two different kind of loans you can get for mortgages. There's the fixed rate interest and then the adjusted rate. And the difference between those two is that with the fixed rate, like if you get a 30-year loan, it's going to stay the same the whole time. So it's a fixed percentage. So if it's like 7%, it's going to be that whole 7% the whole 30 years. Then the adjusted rate, it depends on the economy. So if like the economy is good, then your interest rate won't be as high, so it's lower. So your payment will be lower. But if the economy goes to a downturn, then your interest rate will go up and you'll pay more. So like for example, my uncle, he did that, and like his house payments were only like $200 a month, and he's like, this is great. And then all of a sudden his interest rate went sky high and he ended up paying like $800 a month. So like with that, you have to be like, do I want to take the risk? Like if it jumps, does my budget have enough money to make that like $600 jump? So those are just two things you have to take into account. Like normally people take the fixed rate, but they do have the two options just for, different circumstances.
So the big question is you have to ask yourself, how do I know whether to buy or rent? And when you're answering this question, it's going to be different for every single person in the room, just because you have to answer questions like, what is the product, how long will you have it, where is it located, and what is your socioeconomic status? So for example, if the product is a house, you have to look at it, am I going to live in it for a year or 5 years? Is it located in the suburbs or an urban area? All things that you need to take into consideration.
And then other questions you need to ask yourself when doing stuff like this, like where are you at in your life right now? So most of us, we're in college, like we either have an apartment or we live on campus. And so it makes sense for us just to go and rent an apartment or go rent a house. Because after graduation, I don't know about you all, but I don't plan on staying in like the BG area. So to buy a house here and keep paying for somewhere I don't live wouldn't make sense for me to do. You could rent it out, but that's a whole different story. So like just buying that house would make sense. So like where you at right now, if you have a family, it depends on how big of a house you want or how big of an apartment you want to rent. And same thing with the car. If you go lease a car, if you're by yourself, you can get away with like a smaller car or four-door. But if you have a family, depending on the size, do you want a van? Do you want an SUV? Like those are some aspects you have to take into consideration also. And then like how much do you have right now? Most of the time when you go buy a house or even lease or rent or anything like that, you have to put down a down payment. So you want to look at your budget and be like, can I afford the down payment? And you can always put more down, like more down on the down payment, if that makes sense. So your payments in the long run aren't as much. So when you look at your budget, you say, how much do I have right now? Or like within the next 6 months, because it takes a while for like paperwork and purchasing, like to save money and stuff like that. So that's a question you also have to ask yourself, how much do you have right now? And like what Tori said, like there's no right answer, and everybody's situation is different on if you're going to buy something or lease something. Like Tori said, I own my car. It just made sense for me to go buy my car and pay it in cash. And then Tori just recently bought a newer car because she had an older car before. So she thought instead of just buying an older car again and having to fix it up, it would just be easier to go ahead and make payments on a newer car. So if something were to go wrong, she can go back to the dealership and be like, hey, this is what's going on. So each situation is different, and you have to look at it from a perspective, if that makes sense.
Alright, so now we have just a short video. It talks about the pros and cons of buying and renting. It focuses directly on like buying a home specifically, but no matter what you're buying or renting, they kind of have a similar pros and cons.
Prime Lending presents Welcome Home, Buying versus Renting. Thinking about buying a home? Let's look at the pros and cons of buying versus renting to see if you're ready. The pros of renting include not having to pay for maintenance or repairs. Renting also gives you the flexibility to move at the end of your lease. The cons of renting include the likelihood of your rent increasing with each lease renewal. Also, renters don't receive tax savings like homeowners do, and renters don't build equity in a home. The cons of homeownership include the responsibility for upkeep and repairs, and homeowners have to pay taxes and insurance on their property. The pros of buying include building equity in a home as you pay down interest, and the potential for the home to increase in value over time. Homeowners also receive tax benefits. If you're currently renting, it may be time to consider the benefits of buying a home. Your Prime Lending Loan Officer can help answer any questions you may have about home ownership. Welcome home from Prime Lending.
And like Tori said, this is like more focusing on housing, but it's like if you buy your own car, for example, like since my car is an older car and I paid for it in cash, like if something were to go wrong, then I have to pay for it. So like a lot of these things can relate to cars or like other things that you rent. So that was just like a heads up, as like these things also apply to other things besides houses when you look at buying versus renting.
Alright, so now we have an activity, and we're going to fill in this Venn diagram. At the end, you'll see we're making a point with it, so just hang with us. So, just whatever, what are some things that you own, that you buy?
Or that you can buy.
That you can buy. Or we can do things that you... Oops. Okay, that is not right. Okay, so what are some things that you rent and what are some things that you buy? So just say something and tell us whether you buy it or rent it. Or if it's both, if you can do both, we'll put it in the middle. Jeff.
Like rent an apartment?
Okay.
John, you can rent or buy furniture.
Yep.
DJ.
You can rent or buy formal wear like tuxedos or, wedding stuff.
Could you rent or buy books?
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Large appliances,
In both or buy?
you can do both. Like there's rent a center.
We're terrible spellers, people.
I'm not having a problem.
Okay, I'm a terrible speller.
I just abbreviate. Yeah.
House.
House. Okay, and we gave the example of a car.
Ooh, that's rough.
DJ?
We
What's
Bless you.
like awnings, those tents.
Like tents? Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Like
yeah,
gazebos?
for parties, yeah.
That's both, right? Or all three?
I don't know, can you buy
Yeah, you can buy them. Just they're expensive.
Okay, so we have a lot of examples, so that kind of brings us to our next point. So things like tents and large appliances, those things are available to rent because they are so big and they are expensive. So if you're not going to use it all the time, why buy it? Just rent it. If you're going to rent it enough that you might as well just buy it, then, you know what I mean, that's how you kind of make the decision whether you're going to rent or buy.
Like looking at this Venn diagram as like with technology and other things changing, a lot of the things that you could only buy, you can now rent. So who thought, well, I don't know how long ago renting textbooks was a thing, but like borrowing textbooks from friends or like anything like that, or like even appliances. Like bigger purchases like that, you would think you wouldn't be able to rent because they're like, well, you're going to use it all the time anyways. So.
Here we go. Okay, so these were different items that we came up with.
Right.
Well, that we did research on.
Right, so we hit a lot of these. So car options, there's just like 3 standard things. So like leasing a car from a dealership, we already touched on that, so I'm not going to talk about that much. Like you can go and rent cars instead of leasing them. The difference is like when you go to rent a car, it's normally more short term than long term because leases go for like 3 to 5 years depending on the lease. But if you're going to rent a car, it's more like if your car's in the garage or if you're going on vacation or something like that. And you just go to like a Hertz or an Enterprise or a company like that and you have to sign an agreement with that. And then there's something I found. I didn't know this was possible, but it's an app and they're only in bigger cities and there's different ones and it's called Get Around. And we'll talk about it a little bit after we watch the video.
Getting around without a car can be really tough. Whether I'm going to the store or taking a weekend trip, sometimes having a car will just make life easier. That's why I use Get Around. Get Around lets people rent their car when they aren't using it, to people like me, making enough to cover all their car expenses. When I need a car, I just search for cars nearby. This one looks perfect. The Get Around car kit lets me use my phone to find and unlock the car. And the owner and I don't have to worry, because Get Around provides insurance and screens every renter, just in case. Once I return the car, the owner leaves me a review, so the community knows what a great renter I am, and I get to leave feedback too. That way other drivers know how great this car is. Get Around not only makes my life easier, it's also a smarter way to use the cars we already have. And I'm making Jake's life better too. With the money he made on Get Around, he's finally able to pay off his student loans. On top of it all, Get Around gives me a way to rent cars for great people, wherever life takes me.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
It is,
first thing
well, I'm going to talk about it later, but
So maybe Sherry's in the side here. What if she messes, not crashes the car, but just leaves it dirty? Like
She gets a bad review.
That's it though? She just gets a bad review?
I guess that's like reviews, but like earlier in the year we talked about like the power of writing good reviews and bad reviews. Like how many people, like I don't write reviews and then like, do any of you write reviews, good or bad?
Only
Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 out of all 5, out of all of us. So like to us it's like, oh, we don't really care about reviews like when we write them or something like that, so it's not a big deal. But like in this part, it would be a really big deal. And then so part of that review is like their profile. If they get a bad review, other people are like, no, you can't rent my car. So before I talk like a little bit about that, how do people feel about renting their car to other people? Like, yeah, it's kind of sketchy when I saw that, but yeah.
I would do it.
If you were really tight on money, it'd be so easy.
I mean, if I'm not using my car, somebody else can use it. I'm getting paid for it, so I really don't care. And if it gets crashed, then I have insurance for it, so no big deal.
And like insurance is always crazy and sticky. Like we didn't look like deep enough to like what the policies were and all that stuff. But like I'm sure it covers. I mean, it would have to cover the basics and stuff like that. So just by like a show, I know only one person like said they want to by a show of hands. How many people would like actually do this if it was near us? Like raise your hand. If you would do it. Yeah, would you rent out your car? How many people, okay, now put your hands down, how many would not rent out their car? So it's like half and half right now. So I mean, it's only in bigger cities, and that makes sense because not everybody has to own a car in bigger cities because they have like public transportation and stuff like that. But it's just something like I thought was cool that you could do, like rent out your own car. I tried to find one here. It's not anywhere around here. It's not even in Ohio, so don't even like try. But like, but maybe eventually stuff like this will spread like across the nation, and then eventually we won't have to buy our cars. Like we can just rent other people's or rent companies. Like that's crazy to think, but like that's a possibility. Like we don't know what could happen.
You might not know this, but like, what are the statistics of like how many people use it? Like, is it pretty popular?
That I don't know. Like we didn't look a lot into it, but I mean, I know it's just the advertisement. But I looked like where they were at, and like there was a lot of like purple dots like it showed. So like it just wasn't the advertisement. Like the app's on my phone, and so it's pretty popular in like this areas that it's doing. Like it has. So and like she said, it's an easy way to make money.
And just a couple of things really quick. Okay, just out of curiosity, so the people who said that they wouldn't do it, would you? And then maybe not rent out your car, but would you rent other people's cars?
No.
No? I guess I see it too. I mean, it's no different. I mean, people I know for prom and stuff, if they want a really nice car, they go to the dealer and they rent it out for the night. It's really no different than that. You're just lending it from a person. Okay.
DJ.
There's an article in a recent issue of Time magazine that talks about this phenomenon as a large city, a large metropolitan area phenomenon, and Toronto, all of the big cities in this country, in Europe, that people who have cars are willing to do this, and they truly make money. And this is a social media phenomenon. It happened because somebody on social media said, I need a car. Does anybody know where I can get a car? And somebody entrepreneurial said, I'll loan you my car and make it happen. And from that, it became so popular that this is a really profitable business.
And they based the cost of the car, so like you saw it pop up to like how much it was. So obviously if it's a super nice car, it's going to cost more. And then they said, and a thing I was reading, it was like certain maintenance that they need done monthly, they just like work that into the price. So essentially they drive their car for free.
Anybody else have anything else to say?
I mean, I can see why it's like super popular because like in New York, people who live in New York don't have cars. They ride taxis. So I would rather rent a car probably for the same price as a taxi and drive myself around, and it's going to be a lot more efficient than trying to like hail down a taxi. So I could see how it's a lot more popular in bigger cities.
It's like I said with this, it's just like everybody's like half and half, and we don't know what can come about of this. Maybe it will come to an area like this, maybe it won't. But I thought it was something that was cool to share, like a different aspect of renting. And like it's kind of like the same thing, but you can, like DJ said, clothes like tuxes and wedding stuff. But there's also this website. We don't pick up the link. But like if you want to look at it later, you can. It's called like Rent the Runway, and it's geared towards female. So like it's like Netflix, but for clothes. So you can like you pay a fee monthly, and it's like designer clothes, and like you can like get an outfit. So if you need a blouse, a shirt, and a scarf, those like you get 3 items at a time.
It's all designer stuff though. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
like
all
American
designer.
Eagle or anything like that.
Like
it's
it's names I've never even heard of. So like you ask for it, they give it to you, and then like you can like put it in your queue. So when you send something back, they send it to you.
And it's one flat rate, like for everything?
I think I'm not. It's not.
No.
I was gonna say, there's no way to.
Yeah.
No. We don't click on it. And you don't have,
I
it's
saw-
not a video, but
I saw the one. I know it's like $99 when you're online.
First rental.
So you probably pay the fee, and then you pay on top of that.
So
But it's all like designer stuff. So like this is another thing. Like I know this is like kind of crazy. Like I know none of us are gonna buy like super designer stuff with like teacher salaries and all that good jazz. But when you become a millionaire, when you retire, maybe. So I guess it just depends on. Like see, oh where'd it go?
well, I was trying to click on
Oh,
it.
like right here, I don't know what that means, but this is $70.
This is how, so it's $620, but you can rent it for $70.
Right. Nice.
That would be smart for
Kyle,
prom
did
or
you-
something.
Yeah, I saw a thing. I follow this thing on Instagram. It's called the Trendy Butler, and they do like the same thing. It's like $150 worth of clothes, and you pay $55 a month, and you get like a new outfit each week. Like they deliver to your door each week. It's pretty sweet. I thought it was awesome.
So just looking at this and like the trend, like I didn't know about the Trendy Butler, but like it's just different aspects of renting clothes than going to like David's Bridal Shower and all those like go-to stores when you can go on the web. And like I said, with technology now, everything is gearing towards like getting things online. So I thought that was something cool.
We'll have to look at how much it is later.
That the other thing that you can do is, and I just went to a wedding where the bride had this beautiful diamond necklace, and I was talking to her mother, and I said, "Where did that necklace come from? That's incredible. Is it real?" And she said, "Oh yeah, it's rented. There's a guard here." and I just looked at her and I said, "How much did you pay for the dress?" "It's rented." We decided this was the budget, and she had been watching, and guys, excuse me, but she had been watching Say Yes to the Dress to the point where she wanted one of those $50,000 dresses. So she rented the dress, and she rented the jewelry, and she rented the shoes, and all that kind of stuff. And her parents paid for it, because what are they going to do with it later? I mean, bridal dresses, I can tell you, 25, 30 years later.
Or yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom still has hers in a chest. Like, why keep it if you're not going to even like take it out or look at it?
They have cool things now that you do. You can like trash the dress and stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it. Yeah, you like jump in mud or water. Yeah, it's just like a thing. Okay, anyway. So, go on.
And then for like furniture, electronics, and appliances, this was already brought up. Like we can do all that. Like there's places like Aaron's and Rent a Center that you can go rent the things, and they also have like payment programs. So it's like rent to buy. It's like you'll pay. Like the interest might be a little bit higher because you're like technically still renting it from them, but you can still rent like TVs, iPads, cameras, couches, anything of that sort.
All right, and so then books we talked about. So obviously you can rent or buy your textbooks for school. Also, I was thinking about like your library card. If you think about it, you don't actually sign a lease with the library and you get to do it for free. But think about it, if you don't turn your library book on time, you do pay a late fee. If you happen to rip the book or you lose it or whatever, you end up having to pay for it. So that's like your lease with the library. It's also called a contract. Video games, Gamefly or something like that. Family video, movies, Netflix, family video. There used to be Blockbusters. And then athletic gear. So for example, like if you're going skiing, instead of just having like you buying your skis, if you only go yearly, you don't necessarily need to buy your own skis. It's cheaper to rent them. Or if you're like going ice skating, you could rent ice skates, things like that.
Okay, so now what we're going to do, if everybody can get out just a computer, iPad, whatever. So what you're going to get it with a partner, and then on Google, you're going to type in loan calculator, and then you're just going to, it should be the first link, and then it's going to be bankrate.com, and we're just going to go look at cars for now. And so with you...
Okay, well, time out. Does everyone have their partner?
So you can just work with a partner across from you, or like if this table wants to work with three, that's fine too. And then once everybody's ready, if you can just like give us a heads up or like something like that, that would be good.
Yeah. So type in loan calculator to Google, and it should be the first link that comes up, and it's bankrate.com. So look for that. Sometimes it's the third link. I don't know why it changes, but if you type in the full calculator word and not just calc, it normally works.
Everybody there? Yes. Perfect. So what you're going to do with your partner is that you're going to pick a car. It can either be a dream car or it can be a car you think you're going to buy in like 5 years. And like take into account if you're going to have a family or not. And like you're going to pick the same exact car to like a T. So you're going to have like the same brand, the same model, the same make, the same color, the same year, everything inside. If you have a DVD player in it, you're going to have a DVD, like you have to like agree with it. And then on the calculator, you're going to to type like all the numbers in, and then there's an interest rate already preset in the calculator. Just for this purpose and like to make it easier, it says like 3%, I believe. Just leave that. Normally it depends on your bank and like how long you lend for. So let's just leave it at 3, and then look at the price that you would pay when you would buy it, and then look at the price when you would lease it, and see if you end up saving money in the long run.
So one of you do buying, one of you do renting. So after you figure out what car you're doing, kind of go off on your own, and one do buying, one do renting, and then come back together and compare prices.
Do we leave the terms the same?
Yes. Oh, the term, whatever term you decide to make it the same. So if you choose 48 months, you won't choose 48 months. If like you choose 48 months, your partner also needs to choose 48 months.
It's like you're going to like go build your own.
Yes.
But if I like
For the time.
No, what's doing?
Yeah, you can put like the stuff in, but like it's just like
Wait, so what are we supposed to do?
how many
You just
ways. That's
pick a car. So like,
you
can use your car if you want.
You just say like whatever price you want, essentially.
You'll find it online. Like if you go to a car dealership or whatever, it will say like that's how much it is, and you put that in there.
Oh, okay.
But you'll both need to use the same car.
What car do we want?
I don't care.
We'll just do a brand new Silverado.
Alright, that works.
Okay, when you go to go back,
all I'm saying is
I have to record the whole thing. My arm's starting to hurt. What?
right when you click on
No, you're fine. I can still see everything, so I've been going back and forth, so
That's what I thought he was doing.
and you said it's the first one, right? Yeah.
The DX sedan.
you can totally use that. But then like go on the actual website itself and it should
26,000.
just because
Yeah.
is that for buying or leasing?
So you want
Buying.
auto.
calculator, which is like oh, that makes sense.
Wait, Aaron, where's the buying?
This is the buy. When you look for a lease on the car, it's going to be a new car. And if you go on their website, it should tell you like buy this price, lease.
It's got to be a manual.
So it's on the actual website.
It's on the actual website itself.
And then we turn it, and then we tap it into the.
Chevy
This is if you buy.
So only the person who's buying it. No, this is if you're logging in.
Well, yeah, the buy. Alright.
Yes. Okay. So this is only for the buyer.
RIP to the green one.
And then this is the number you're going to compare to the number on the website.
And then you're going to see if you actually end up saving money buying versus leasing. Frankie, how you
Him and I are talking about cars.
What car did you choose? Trying to remember.
Oh, I got Wi-Fi in it.
I know I want this car.
There's one
Well, it looks like it's from car.
Ramen and Tip.
And then only one of you has to do it. And then the other person get on like the actual and that will
Oh, right.
Those are my
it'll make you cry.
Because they're only made.
Let's say.
For a 60-month used car rate, you're gonna get looks like 2.39% and whatever it's called, interest.
That's what they look like now. Well, we found the Civic.
Now it doesn't want to work.
15,000.
It's interesting stuff.
Figures right.
High school had a DeLorean. It was like weird because he got it like
Well, I tried to choose a brand new Silverado, but it's not wanting to work.
really, yeah, because it was a sour side.
You can go anywhere online. You don't have to say wait for it.
Okay. I'm just trying to get to work, honestly.
Wait, what are you trying to get?
I don't even know.
Okay, just go to like a normal like Honda dealership or something, or Dodge or whatever. And then on the actual website, it will give you all the information that you need for leasing. And then that is for buying. So you'll plug that information in.
Gotcha.
That's still, like, people would make fun of you for
Brought me right back. I thought I got out of it. It brought me right back in.
Get the lights and everything. Oh my god.
What's cheaper for you to buy or rent?
Probably.
Cheaper to buy?
Yeah, better off just buying. In this case, it's better off just buying.
Is it a rental car?
That was great.
What do you get?
He turned, looked at the camera, and goes.
$325 a month.
Did you pick a car yet?
2015 Dodge Viper.
Okay. Dream car or realistic car?
Dream car. Obvious. It's $100,000. I'm gonna have to take out quite the loan. It's gonna be a whole loan. But at least I'll
You have a wife.
She doesn't.
She won't
Frank,
girl.
She'll know when I pull up in it.
Just be like, I
And
rented
she'll be like,
this.
that's fine. I'm okay with this. That is a nice one.
Just say I rented it.
It's real.
It'll be worth so much money.
Like $100 cheaper.
Are you two done? Are you two done or not?
Yeah, we're done.
We're just looking.
Ridiculous prices.
Did you finish yours?
Both of my parents.
I know you didn't have partners.
Yeah, I graduated high school before they made it on so I guess that's not bad.
I'm understanding that that's the big thing.
It's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to see it.
I'm staying in trench.
I'd say if I had $20,000,
No trips like it.
I'll fly out there.
Go up. Oil's cheap with yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you didn't see it, did you? Yes, and then she had like the high game.
Oh, that video, yeah.
No. I'm sure she asked me.
Well, I mean, what about
But my dad said they were expensive when they came out. Like, in the car.
Or I got rid of my car. It was 1 year away from me.
It's just so you don't have to.
Or the Audi R8, $1,000.
See, my dad had
Wow.
Some was like one of the last trucks that they actually made a low rider. And like he was training it in. He's like, you should like train this to a body shop and just get more like.
We need more time.
They got my dad like 13 or 1400 because some dude's like he's just gonna trick it out and get a good shot.
And it's like so heavy. Alright, and that is actually, and these are, okay. Oh yeah, just kidding. Don't ignore what I said.
So while looking at like buying and renting, was there like, did anybody see anything did anybody see anything that like surprised them, or like after like doing this, would you rather buy a car or would you rather lease the car? Like, what are some thoughts after doing this?
It makes me want to lease it because of the price, but I've only owned cars, so it'd be weird like giving a car away.
And what kind of car did you like?
We were looking at BMWs, so like they're expensive.
Okay, yeah.
We looked at a 2015 Cruise, and it was much cheaper to buy it.
Okay. Anybody else have any like thoughts on that? Now, with just those two, like BMW, Chevy Cruise, like with those are two very opposite cars on like the spectrum of like fanciness. I'm not saying Cruises can't be fancy, but I'm also saying if you drive by in a BMW, people are going to be like, "Wow, they own a BMW." People are like, "Wow, they own a Chevy." So like when looking at that kind of aspect, like depending on the car you buy, if it's more expensive and like the lease wise, then it would be more reasonable to lease it. But like with like more realistic cars in my eyes, it would be more expensive to buy.
And also with like leasing, it does like a lot of times too. It does look cheaper on like just like this little picture of things. But if you look at it like into the fine print, it tells you like if you go over mileage or anything like that. So if you're planning on driving a lot, obviously you don't want to lease a car because you're just going to run the miles up, and you might as well just bought it. So something to keep in mind.
A lot of people who want a status vehicle and who don't want to keep a car for very long and who don't drive very many miles will lease a car because it's much cheaper. You can instantly get the status of driving a BMW or a Lexus or a Cadillac or whatever. If you qualify for a lease, and that's another issue. Do you qualify? But you can easily lease and get that status effect. The other thing that they do is just like your landlords in a college town, they consider your security deposit their income. You won't see that back, and you'll probably get dinged for every little speck on the paint and every little spot on the interior, plus the miles that you drive. So you have to know that going into it. And if you're okay with that, you know, then go for it. Just like you rent an apartment.
So is there no security on a car if you're leasing it and if you crash, like, or is it just your insurance?
It's your insurance.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is when you own a business or whatever, you can use leasing as a tax write-off. You don't have to treat that as an asset, which is pretty beneficial. So usually if it's for a business, you want to lease, but also like dealerships, don't they want to push leases? Because I think they make more.
They make a lot of money.
That's what I thought. So if you're dealing with somebody in a car, they're probably going to try to push you into a lease, and that's not necessarily the right thing.
So like all in all with leasing and buying or just renting in general, like we'll say like time and time again, it all depends on the situation, how much money you have, and like what are you willing to give and how much like the house. Are you really going to be in there for like 20 years, 30 years, or is it just a temporary home? So those are like all aspects to look at when you go and buy or rent anything. And then let's buy. And then these are our references.
When we were talking before about goals and values and all those kinds of things, I shared with Aaron, my car has 270 plus miles on it. My value is not in the status of a car, it's in the drivability of a car. And whether or not it can cart 5 kids with all their ball bags